Municipal infrastructure services, such as the supply of clean drinking water, managing wastewater systems, and maintaining roads and parks, are essential services provided by the village. These services rely on effective maintenance and management of the infrastructure. My name is Chart Vandenberg from Land Info Technologies, and I will provide a brief overview of Nakusp's asset management initiative and what is envisaged moving forward. As we are all aware, infrastructure has a limited lifespan and must be replaced when it stops to function effectively. And although the majority of Nakusp's infrastructure remain in good working condition, it's anticipated that some infrastructure will be deteriorated in the coming years. Replacing infrastructure is a significant financial undertaking, and it's important to do proper asset management planning to secure that adequate funding is available and ensure that the village can consistently provide and maintain its infrastructure. Here are 6 questions we need to answer when doing asset management planning. What do we own? Where is it? What is it worth? What condition is it in? What needs to be done first? And when does it need to be done? To answer these questions, Nakusp embarked on a 3-step approach towards asset management. First, an asset management or asset register or inventory was created in electronic or a GIS format. Secondly, assets were prioritized and high-risk assets were identified. And lastly, focusing on these high-risk assets, capital and operational strategies were developed. So I'm going to show the data on the GIS. That should give you a bit of a better overview of the data inventory and the various steps we just talked about. So here's the data in GIS that was captured. So on the left, you can see the various data categories or groups that we captured: stormwater collection, wastewater collection, water supply, transportation, structures and buildings, and then the last category here is natural capital assets. Now, this is an asset group that's recently been captured, and we captured information like, or data like forests and streams and wetlands and water bodies and trees and things like that. To give you a bit of a better idea of what that data that we captured, here's, for instance, a forest area that we captured owned by the municipality close to the airport. Here at Hot Springs area, we captured, for instance, forest areas there as well. And also, if I go to the downtown area, they are, for instance, the roads, the trees that we captured, the green dots there, beach, etc. So to give you a better idea of what kind of data was captured in the asset inventory, I'll just select, for instance, a pipe there, or let me do the pipe there, for instance. There's a wastewater pipe. And what you can see on the right-hand side is this is the information that was captured for that particular asset item or feature, as we call it. In this particular case, we can see the diameter of the pipe, the length of the pipe, material, when it was installed, remaining life expectancy, replacement costs, and so on. So the whole idea here is, with this asset inventory, we can answer the questions we just talked about, or at least most of them. To give a bit of a better idea of what was captured in the asset inventory or asset register, here is a summary table. On the left here, you can see the asset, or we call it the systems group of assets that we captured. And here is the value or replacement cost of those various asset groups. You can see in total, the value is estimated to be around about $130 million. I just want to point out here, there's also a group called non-municipal, about 50 million of estimated value. Now, those are mainly the natural capital assets not owned by the village. So although we did include it in the asset inventory, it mostly will not be included when we do our financial planning. So if we look at step 2, which is the prioritization part of the assets, what the staff did is they identified high-risk assets by looking at the consequence and probability of failure of every asset. And the end result was what you can see here. This is a heat map showing the high-risk assets. So the red pipes here are the ones that is high priority. The green ones would be lower, and sort of the lighter green and a yellow and orange would be in between the two. So if you look at the assets there, this is what was identified. Here you can sort of see the wastewater pipe. It's feeding all the whole area over here, and that's why that was identified as a high-risk asset. So that would be our focus when we do our third step, which is the capital strategies and operational strategies. That would be our focus. So we would look at the higher risk assets prior to the low risk assets. Give you a quick idea of the risk profile of Nakusp. Here's another summary graph. Here we got the asset groups again, as we discussed, but here it's sort of filtered by the risk value, or that we call extreme, high, medium, low, or low or medium risk, and the value, again, replacement cost of the assets. So when we do our strategy, our focus would be on the high and medium risk assets, which is mostly water and wastewater, and maybe high risk as well. So that's sort of the way that we identify what the focus would be for our risk when we do our step 3, which is the strategy. So just a little bit more about the strategy. Again, we would focus on the high-risk assets to guide us when we do the planning and the budget, future budget for capital planning and replacement of assets. In addition, it also helps us to do operational and procedures, operational planning and procedures. And what that will specifically entail is, for instance, preventative maintenance, as you might be aware, is to fixing a pipe when it breaks might be substantially more costly than doing preventative maintenance and then replace it just before it breaks, or you anticipate that it'll break. That will be a substantially saving if you can sort of do more planned replacement rather than reactive replacement. So one of the key things we'll do is we'll look at the high-risk assets, and that will be the focus of our planning and operational procedures. Moving forward, what we are very aware of is that data is one of the most valuable elements in the asset management process. And the availability of accurate and timely information is a key component to the success of asset management planning. Moving forward, a primary focus will be to maintain the data, and a procedure was put in place to ensure that the update is done on a regular basis. Also, it's important to review the village's risk profile on a regular basis, and it's anticipated that the risk values will be updated annually, and high priority assets will be identified or confirmed at that time. And the high priority assets will then guide capital and operational planning, as we discussed, and also will be the focus of preventative maintenance and risk mitigation actions in the future. So during the last number of years, Nakusp has made significant progress in the development and the implementation of its asset management process. and will continue to support staff and council in making well-informed decisions as they strive to ensure sustainable service delivery.